belly. Your belly.
Oh, hello, everyone. We're doing this again. We're coming into your news feeds and annoying you on a Tuesday night. Today, I am joined by the lovely Kilma.
Hello, hello.
Oh, there you are. Uh-oh, I think you're actually off screen. That's my bad. I will fix this. So, in good fashion with every stream, there's a bit of a technical glitch because I'm a busy guy and I can't be bothered to fix these things beforehand. Here we go. Let's do this.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're learning.
I think it's awesome that you're doing it live because I always did mine pre-recorded because of things like this.
Yeah.
I think this is so rad.
Wait, I have to fix your entire... There we go. There we go. Okay. Now this will be awful again. That's fine. People can watch... half the fun of watching this stream is watching me play around with these things. There we go. That's better. Let's try that again. Oh, that's going to be what I'll be known for is these funny little glitches. So thanks for watching this, if you are watching this. Today, we are talking music with someone I've known for, again, quite a while. And once again, I don't know you that well. And her name is Kilma. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's good to do this. I don't fully know why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it, and people are watching, and some people are enjoying it. So yeah, in case you were wondering, what I'm gonna try to do every time is open these streams with a track or a set if someone's a DJ that hasn't produced music. But today, this was a track that was produced by Kilma. If you could tell us a little bit about what they were listening to.
Okay, so it's called What's That? And I was reading fabulous stories to my son. We were going over trucks. And as you can tell from the pronunciation, he hasn't quite gotten the tr sound. It's more of the f sound. So that just makes it that much more hilarious. And then I just had fun with that. So I think it was about 5 or 6 months ago, I decided, okay, maybe I could produce some music in the middle of the pandemic. This will be fun. And yeah, I just crack up every time I hear it because, I mean, that teeny tiny little voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun. Actually, I like the tracks you sent me. So let's go through this a little bit because, I've got people watching that don't know who you are. And like I just said a second ago, we've sort of known each other through the circles, for a while. And I know that you've been at this game for quite a while. But I've watched sort of, from the sidelines, you've tried a number of different things. You had a couple different DJ names, and yeah, you've been pretty passionate about music and this whole scene for a really long time. So I wanted to just walk everyone through your history here. When did you start? When did you get into this?
So it would have been about 2006. Went to my first rave. Was hanging out with the guys that brought me to my first rave, and they happened to have turntables, and I was like, this looks cool. Can I try this out? And they're like, probably too technical for you. And then, of course, I ended up giving a couple of them their first DJ gigs out a few years later. So that was fun. I started collecting vinyl before I even had turntables. And then I probably train wrecked my first gig 6 months in, and it was fabulous. And just kept going with it. I had big dreams. I wanted to tour. I wanted to make music. I wanted to sing for a bit. I wanted to MC for a bit. I was very much into drum and bass music. And then I got into dubstep. And so it was like drum and bass, dubstep, a little bit of electro. And after a few years of that, a friend of mine in marketing is like, look, there's a bit of brand confusion going on here. People think SWAT, which was the first DJ name, they think drum and bass, but you're playing this whole mix of stuff. So I was like, yes, this makes sense. Let's get this brand down. And I was really getting into garage and house and techno around that time, and I wanted to leave drum and bass behind. Wasn't really feeling the dubstep so much. So did the swap, did the rebrand, told everyone no more SWAT. And I had planned the Kilma brand for about 6 months and only told a few people. And then launched the brand when I went out to Costa Rica to play in Vision Festival. And so it's been house and techno for a while. And then, as the years went on, I did a mixture of things like promoting shows, worked with different DJs to help them promote themselves, did workshops. Up until the pandemic, I was doing a DJ program for some of the younger kids, like a workshop after school. I was about to go in work with the art gallery, graffiti gallery at Portage Place, and then everything got shut down. So all those workshops just kind of came to a halt. So it's kind of like a mix of a million different things that I have done over the years. Yeah. We'll have to dive into that, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's lots of time here to dive into it. Dubstep, you say? Yes. Have you ever seen my little rant about dubstep? There was a video. I think a few people shared it around, and then I had to delete it, and I re-uploaded it. It's not like it was controversial. I was like, did you ever see that? No?
No, tell me more. Was it funny?
I wonder if I can bring it up. I don't know if it's... Well, somebody said
bring that up, funny. Jamie.
Yeah. Where is Jamie? Where is Jamie when you need him? I don't know. It was from a few years ago. No, if I can't get this going, this is gonna be silly. Oh wait, maybe. Oh. Okay. I think I got it. Can you see that?
I really don't like dubstep that much. Actually, I think I can probably speak for everybody when they say I don't like dubstep, because kind of like dubstep. It is cool. It's like there's something about dubstep that does make you want to move around. I don't know. I'm really jealous that those guys, figured that sound.
I've got some major technical difficulties here. I'm gonna kill this. It's stupid. Oh, I'm getting a huge feedback on myself too. Are you hearing that feedback? Oh, now it looks like maybe your sound is cut a little bit.
You look like a baby here.
There we go.
So young.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Let's not do that anymore. Let's just stick to the chat.
No worries.
I thought
I
it was
have
going to be
somehow
all...
signal my husband to stop being so loud in there. I don't know if you can hear him just like washing the veggies.
No.
And
Can't hear it.
no? Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
He's just like, you're welcome.
So, okay, so part of these chats, the part that I don't really mention, why I'm doing this is, I've found myself in a place where I've like lost music a bit. I'm not afraid to admit it, but I've kind of always struggled with that over the years, and having other people on that I have always sort of noticed as being quite passionate with music and just talking about music and how they feel about it, really, instead of putting on this show all the time. You've played a lot of shows, you've toured around, you've done a lot. Am I alone in this two-person conversation when I say every day I'm like, I don't want to do music? Maybe I do. No, I don't. Maybe I do.
Oh, that's a great question. It definitely depends on what's going on. It happened to me a lot. Oh, did it happen to me a lot in the beginning? I dealt with so much garbage in the beginning. It was so frustrating. And it actually motivated me a lot. But during the pandemic, where there wasn't a lot of shows going on, and I had played Mimetic, like the last show I played out, was it wherever that beer place is, the Beer Can. And then like 5 days later, tinnitus in one ear. It just started ringing like crazy. And that has been like one of the few times in my career where I was like, oh, wow, I would actually rather never DJ ever again if the ringing would stop and I could continue to enjoy music. The other time it happened to me is when I was being severely stalked online to the point where I was starting to fear for my life. And I was like, I don't know if this is worth it. And, it's like you're bringing a child into this world. What's that?
Do tell more. What is this about?
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel like that happens to a lot of folks, right? The more stuff that you're doing, the more likely you are to piss off some internet troll or somebody that you rejected or somebody that maybe isn't well mentally. And I've definitely come across quite a few folks like that. And maybe it does happen to dudes for sure, and non-binary people and queer people and women. But yeah, I dealt with some like really weird things throughout the industry. And that was definitely a little freaky for a while there. And then it kind of, I got into a better headspace and it didn't freak me out so much, but it happens all the time. You hear about like big time celebrities that have people that are stalking them and show up at a meet and greet, and now they can't do meet and greets anymore because these people just show up and they're being friendly and then they do something crazy.
So this happened to you?
What's that?
This happened to you?
No, nobody came to a meet and greet and tried to shoot me or anything, but the stalking thing, yes, it's happened. I've had accounts compromised. I've had numerous fake accounts online pop up where people are like, why did you say this thing? And you're like, does that sound like me? That doesn't really sound like me, does it? Yeah.
What?
But
Okay.
I feel like it can happen to anybody, and with the age of the internet, it just kind of got worse for a lot of people.
Well, the more you put yourself out there, right? The more you make yourself a target.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. Sorry, did you have more to add to that? I sound like I cut you off.
It's just to answer your question about like, has there been these times where like, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? Probably more in those extreme situations where you're like, my family.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not
what
really.
Has it been for you?
What's it been like for me?
Like when you're having that thought, you're like, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Like what's going on for you when that happens? It's
totally
to you?
like a psychological thing. That's what I was getting at. Like, I like the contrast. You're saying yours is more of like a practical decision. You're like, okay, I'm injured, my ear, I need to give it a rest, and there's a physical threat. So maybe let's give that a rest. No, mine's just psychological. So again, that's why I'm doing this, because it's like, I don't know. I have such a love-hate with music. There was a big chunk of my life where I spent just making music, like all day, every day, nothing but, and not sleeping, and just doing it. And I don't know. I burnt a fuse out, and I don't know. I mean, I could go on and start crying and all of that right now, but this is your show. You're the guest today.
I'm so used to throwing the questions around, so but also love the conversation. And I think that's like such a valid thing. I think a lot of people can relate to that, where they're like, oh, you know, they see maybe a track go out and it's getting more hits, and you're like, why? Like, why is it getting more likes? It's not that good. Why is it getting like charted? It's not that great. So why am I trying so hard? Why am I busting my balls if like, look at this?
People just like junk, right? Ooh. Got a playback issue.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so interesting watching it. Yeah.
I think that's the part that I don't think I ever fell victim to. Like, I don't put something out. Actually, well, I haven't put something out in a really long time, but if I do, I don't look at it. I'm not like, oh, how many plays, how many likes, how many shares. I don't give a shit. And primarily because I'm always struggling to just like make the tracks I make are for me. Like, they're not really, I'm not trying to make a hit. I'm not trying to make something for other people to, you know, I don't want it to chart. I don't care. Like, it's kind of hard to explain. And I'm like always fighting myself too. Like, I know I should make music that's supposed to get out there and do well, but it's really, the track's just for me. I don't know. There's some kind of crazy weird struggle that I'm cursed with. I don't know.
Do you ever feel like you have maybe like a belief system based on people that you respect? Like maybe you've just heard these things in your ears so long about what it means to put out a tune. Like I hear such a split of, you got to get the likes, you got to get the follows, you got to get this. And then I get the, you know, like you got to do it for yourself, and like you can't worry about that. And it's just like this struggle because people are constantly talking in your ear about what you should do, as opposed to you ever actually coming to the point where, well, what do I want?
Right. Well, what do you want? I mean, here's a great question for you right now. What do you want from all of this? What do you want from music? What do you want it to give to you?
Okay, so when I introduce myself, like the short version is like, I'm a DJ that helps DJs. I help, oh gosh, how do I do this? It's been a while. I like to help DJs figure out maybe unorthodox ways of getting through crappy situations. I like to have thought-provoking conversations because I don't think there is one right way of doing anything in this industry. And it's not just like a mindset, but it's like a belief system. I will hear people say things like, I can't accomplish this thing. It's like, well, sure, if you keep telling yourself, that's exactly what you can't accomplish. But the most success that I had in my career was not being around people that were constantly telling me what I could and couldn't do in the industry, because it's just such a limiting belief. And depending on who you talk to, they would have a completely different experience than you because they have a different mindset. They have like different goals in mind, and they might not know how they're going to get there, but they believe that they will, and they figure it out as they go, and they do their homework and they work hard, but they figure it out as they go, knowing that they will figure it out. I don't get stuck on how is it going to happen. So for me, it's helping other DJs and artists that maybe feel stuck. And yes, like playing shows and traveling and making great music that people dig. But those people dig because it's something they're into, not because I'm like, I'm making something that is me and it's attracting people that like that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to say, as opposed to like popular music. If it ends up being popular music at some point and I like it, cool. But yeah, I'm still figuring out what is my sound. Sometimes I'm making techno and it's dark and lots of textures and it's weird. And then other times it's hilarious. And I'm just like, what is this about? Like, what is this? Who is this going to attract? I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Do you have like a spirit genre, like a genre that is you, defines you? Because I do remember you playing drum and bass, like when I met you, that was your thing. I have never been able to shake what I like. I like what I like, and I will play it, and I don't give a shit if someone says it's not like current anymore. Like, I like a sound, and that's it. So I don't know. I mean, I also started DJing techno, and I really like techno and minimal techno. I said this all last show, but if people didn't know that, I produce techno in the dark and in secrecy, and I've always techno's a huge part of French house. French house is basically funk samples turned into techno, like very loop based, very repetitive, very rhythmic. And then it turned into disco house, etc. Or I guess the two of them met and fell in love. Anyways, you seem to bounce around and play different genres and have fun doing it, it looks like. But is there one that is your spirit sound? It's you.
Great question. I think so. Yeah. Definitely when I would play Underground Revival, when John Skeen took it over, I just loved. Have you ever heard of Little by Little?
No.
Okay, so this dude makes the weirdest techno, and it's the most amazing, and it just like tickles all the senses, and it's so textured, and it inspires me. And from like when I'm searching for music, I find somebody I really like, and then I start, okay, what labels are they releasing on? What other artists? So like him and Steady Rock and Steve Darko, like I love how weird and unpredictable their music is. I love the acid. I love the bit crusher. I just love the weird. So if you ever hear me play at Underground Revival, you'll hear a lot of that style. I think some people would characterize it as tech house, but I don't think it's typical of tech house. I also love techno. I love acid techno. I love dark techno.
I feel like when you started DJing, you didn't like techno, or did I make that up? I feel like we had a conversation at one point, and you were like, those who were into drum and bass, that was like, that's it. Those were like the punk and ska kids versus like, whatever. Like it was really separate.
I did not love minimal techno.
Okay.
I was like,
nobody does.
A few too many things.
Except me.
Just a few too many things going on. But even when I was in drum and bass, I got razzed a lot because it's like, oh, you play jump up? Like, you should play Neuro. Oh, you're playing like reggaeton, like jungle. It's like, oh, you need to be playing Liquid or whatever. And I went everywhere. I took things on a journey. I did not care. And it was super interesting because when I first started touring, I would basically live in a city for like a couple of weeks so that I could bounce around to other cities from there, like Montreal or Toronto. And then, oh, I can just go to Buffalo, or, oh, I can just go like to Quebec or whatever. And I remember being in Montreal, and I was at this party, and they were talking about music, and they asked me like what my favorite kind of music was, and somebody had mentioned like minimal techno, and I'm like, oh, I'm not really a fan. And they're like, that's cool. You're allowed to like whatever you want. I'm like, holy shit, that's right. I was so used to people telling me what I should and shouldn't like for years. Even though I'd still obviously play whatever I want, I'd be looking around the room like, oh my God, who is going to shit on me on the forums today? And I mean, even to this day, when because I play corporate gigs, and I don't like, the only top 40 I play is all house remixed. And well, that's not true. I play like 90s and 2000 top 40, and I love it because I love all that shit. But
Shame,
yeah.
shame. No, you're allowed. And
I don't care. I love it. But I have done that at DJ gigs too, where I'll just like throw something from Night at the Roxbury, basically. Like,
right.
Getting living joy, dreamer.
Yeah. Well, the whole scene changed, like back when you started. I think I was playing out a lot back then. You couldn't do something like that, at a rave.
No.
It went into the bars, and raves kind of died. Well, for my stuff anyways, but yeah, it's acceptable now. People need to have a little bit more fun. Anyways, okay. I want to back up a bit. Because I don't know you that well. Okay. And I love these opportunities to just chat with people and have these sit downs, right? Rather than 10, 15 minutes at some kind of party or, just some interaction randomly. What was life for you like before all of this? Because this is such a, piece of our personalities. Once you get into electronic music, it's part of you, right? Tell me who you were before all of this, before you met Theo. I remember I met you through Theo, and he was hanging out with you, and you guys were both playing drum and bass. So before you even got into this.
So before I got into this, I was really into Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys. I was big into hip hop and R&B. I would go to Pharaoh's for like DJ Finesse's Wednesday night thing. Perfect. I lived for that. I was like, yeah, we're going to the bar, we're going dancing, I'm going to be on the booty box. Like, love to dance. Thought I was going to dance. Thought I would be like, do you remember the movie Honey with Jessica Alba?
I remember it. I don't remember like intimately, but I remember it existing.
I thought I was going to be a dancer. I'm like, Missy Elliott's going to find me. She's going to pick me up. I'm going to do a music video. I was obsessed with dancing. And even, do you remember Electric Circus? Yeah, everybody remembers Electric Circus.
I wanted to be on Electric Circus. My friend Brandon and I were like, we're going to go there one day.
Yeah. I would watch it when I was like 12, 13. And me, my sister, and my cousin would have dance parties. And I'm like, that I'm gonna go to Toronto and I'm gonna like dance on Queen Street. So I thought I was gonna be a dancer. I was into dance music, but it was all like Dance Mix 95, Groove Station 2. It was all the cheesy stuff that I still love today. And so like music wise.
Did you play? Yeah. Did you play music? Did you play instruments? Did you have a musical background? No.
Nope, not at all.
And that's common too in this sort of industry, right? Like people can learn to be musicians through electronic music. You don't have to know hand positions to play chords on keys or strings, but you can play around with the computer and make some sounds, and those sounds might be, a little bit different than what people are normally expecting to hear, but you put them together and you create this weird sound. So that's not uncommon. Did you play piano at all when you were little, or guitar or anything like that? No.
The recorder?
The recorder. We're all supposed to play the recorder, yeah. Were you any good at it?
Actually, it was quite good.
Okay, there we go.
I did perform at the church talent show, so no big deal.
Okay, there we go. We found it. You had some background. When did you actually start getting into then, like, becoming a producer? When did you say, I want to take this from DJing to making stuff?
I want to say within like the first couple of years, got like a cracked version of Reason, started dabbling around in that.
Classic.
Yeah,
Same. Shout out to Steph, Devious Lifeform, for hooking me up with a cracked version of Reason, and shout out to Harry Chan for introducing me to Devious Lifeform to give me a cracked version of Reason. Sorry.
And then where did I go from there? Eventually, a friend of mine was like, you got to get Cubase. Cubase, all the drum and bass producers are using Cubase, get Cubase. So I went out and spent the few $100 on Cubase, and then I could not figure it out. And I was so frustrated. And there wasn't a lot of people in the city that knew how to use it. So I'm like, great, that's wonderful. And of course, everyone's trying to influence you. Get Logic, get this, get that, get the other thing. You should be using this program. And so I'd like download free trials, or someone would get me a cracked version, and I play around, and then, your trial ends and they're like, I don't have enough like sound effects or drum loops or anything. So I just kind of dabbled back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then would work with other people. And then eventually opened up Cubase again. I'm like, oh, this actually isn't that hard at all. Because it's just like everything else. So yeah, my production introduction was just basically people like hammering it at me, like, no one's going to take you seriously as a DJ unless you start making music. And so it's like, hey, let's try this.
That's what.
And now I like it.
Isn't that what John Norman said last episode? Someone said that. Who said that? Same thing.
Like all those guys in the industry.
You're listening to
me at some point.
You're listening to the same guys that he's listening to. Someone's out there just telling people, "Oh, you need to make music to be taken seriously." Stop listening to them.
That's just one of the many things people told me would help me be taken seriously. Yeah, so that's a different conversation, though.
Oh, is it? I don't know. That sounds meaty. Maybe I won't pry. I'll you know what? We'll circle around the easy questions, and then we'll
keep them hooked.
We'll find that torture.
Hooked.
Actually, I do see this pattern, though. I mean, a few times you've already brought up that you've been told by individuals you couldn't make it, or you should do this. It sounds like you're painting a picture that you have this like tribe of people that just won't shut up, and they won't leave you alone, and they're pushing you in all directions.
They have now. You just have to stop listening and engaging, and then just show by example of the things that you can do outside of their like box of rules that are their rules, not yours, because they have their stuff and you have yours, and everybody has their own journey. And if you would like to offer some information, I am open to it, maybe.
So
are
these people that have quote unquote made it? Do they have a platform they should be allowed to stand on? Who, you don't have to name people, but I'm curious, what is this group?
Let's put it this way. Have they made it? I guess the definition is what is made it to them. Because if they haven't, and they're telling initially, like anybody that has told me you can't because I haven't, therefore, yeah, most of them have not really done much of anything. Some of them have, but they probably took them 3 times as long because they're in that headspace. I really feel like when we consistently tell ourselves negative things, we get what we give. We get what we're consistently telling. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like, you just tell yourself like, oh, this is so hard. Oh, I'm so tired. This makes me so sick. I hate my job. It's just like, you just make that happen for yourself as opposed to like, you know what? Yeah, it's difficult, but I can figure it out. Like, yeah, it's not the funnest thing in the world, but at the end of it, I get this thing. And that's like super exciting. So, I just started listening to other people that were like, hey, yeah, absolutely, you can figure it out. And also weren't so focused on like, this is the only way you can do it. It's here is one way you can do it. And here's another way you can do it. Ill Gates gave a really fantastic step-by-step of like the creative process and making music that changed it for me when it came to making music. Because it wasn't like perfect your kick drum. It was like, spend 5 minutes on this, next thing, spend 5 minutes on this, next thing, like get through this process and then go back and be like, hey, what am I getting rid of? What am I getting rid of? What am I keeping? Instead of working on something for an hour and then realizing, oh, wait, it doesn't go with everything else I've made. I just wasted an hour trying to perfect something that didn't really matter. And I think it's that whole thing of getting stuck on the details instead of just doing, because everything you do is probably going to suck for a while until you get good at it. But you're not going to get good at it if you're talking about how you can't do it. Like, you have to just do it and then do it again and fail and do it again and fail. And eventually you will get it. And I mean, even just like going on tour, when I was like, I have these big dreams and I want to travel and I want to do this and I want to do that. And people would be like, what makes you think you can do it when I haven't done it in 12 years? Great question. What is it I can do to make this happen? Like, I don't know what you have and haven't done, but I'm just going to see what happens. And I'm going to make mistakes and maybe I won't get paid sometimes. And maybe, I'm going to end up sleeping on somebody's couch and it smells like pets. I don't know. But maybe I'll meet like super fucking awesome people most of the time and then play super amazing shows and I'll be wonderful. And that's what happened. It was mostly positive experiences and it wouldn't have been if I just talked about how it couldn't be. So
that's right. I mean, you do make your own reality. This sort of extends beyond DJing, but whatever you tell yourself will come true. However you act, if you think that you always, you're always broke or, you've always got the worst luck and, your car always gets broken into, that will happen. I don't know why that works that way. It's just a law of the universe and it works that way. If you tell yourself you can do anything that anyone else can and maybe some more, then that'll be true. It's your choice. You just tell yourself that you can't do something. You tell yourself you can. Whatever you want to pick. What was that? Picasso said, anything you can imagine is real. Or who said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. Who said that one?
Somebody did say that.
Yeah.
And I don't know who, because every time I see a quote of the same thing, it's somebody different.
Yeah. It's always
like somebody is really going to check this.
Yeah. You need to fact check the quotes or something.
Yeah. Fact checking everything else. They might as well.
Yeah, it's always attributed to like the same. It'll be like an Einstein quote. Like everything is always just an Einstein quote. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's this very interesting past that's like lurking just beneath the surface here. You keep making reference to, I don't know, these people holding you down. But it's like, what?
So past, so like childhood past?
No. I meant like musically. I mean, oh shit, we don't have to go that far, but no, I just mean like, I don't know. The thing about the music scene industry, from my perspective, and again, maybe this is something I've just told myself, and it's not true for others, but I made it my own reality. It just seems to me there's so much negativity, right? Like here's something so far I cannot get valid feedback on maybe a track in progress. If I send it to someone and I'm concerned about it, I think this isn't really that great. Let me get some feedback. Send it to someone, they'll go, awesome, this sounds awesome. You're like, that's not helpful.
Yeah. Do you ever ask for specific feedback?
Yes. And there's just...
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So on the flip side, but the negativity, right? It's just like, there's a lot of people, you sort of mentioned it when you said you wanted to tour and someone said you couldn't because they, hadn't done it yet. That, I've seen lots of that too, right? Like people just aren't supportive. They're not, it's hard to get peers to really rally behind you. Like I don't see anyone else having sort of an entourage of peers that rally behind them.
So I guess it depends where you look. Have you ever heard of the Producer Dojo?
Heard of, but I'm not familiar.
Okay, so Il Gates runs a workshop called the Producer, or is it called the Producer? So Il Gates runs like this incredible workshop teaching people how to do production. And then he often gets other people that pass the class and do really well to also teach and mentor people. And it is a really wonderful group. It's probably one of the best groups I found, and they are really good at giving feedback. Specific feedback, like they'll tell you what they're liking, they'll tell you like what they think might need some improvements, and maybe even how to do it. So I feel like there are groups of people out there that are like that. Sometimes it takes a bit of digging, and also really obsessively being that kind of person that wants to help other people and can give critical feedback. When I was running the what was it called? Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I was doing these vlogs. It was Ask Kilma, and people would ask me some pretty frustrating questions about things that they were going through, and I could totally understand where they were coming from, because when a promoter doesn't pay you, when you show up at a gig and shit isn't there, like you're pissed off. Like, what the fuck? You threw a party. Like, how do you not know how to do this? And at the same time, say things like, did I ask them about the equipment? Did I ask them what the pay was? Did I get the details in the advance before I accepted the DJ gig? Because a lot of people get excited, they say yes, and they might feel uncomfortable about negotiating. They might feel uncomfortable about asking certain questions, even though they're totally valid. So coming back to what you were saying about like negativity, I can understand people getting frustrated, and then they get stuck, and then they don't know where to go from there. And then it's just like, poor me, poor me, poor me. Instead of like, hey, let's find some solutions, or I can't be alone in this. Like somebody else must have experienced this. How can I excel from this? Like, what can I learn from this experience? And so I think the reason why I really like the Producer Dojo group is because it was that growth mindset of people that are like, I want to get better. And I know critical feedback is going to kind of like get me no matter how nice somebody is to me, but they know how to give that critical feedback and also tell you what you're doing really great. So yeah,
all these DJs and producers need a support group.
Yeah, I mean, we do. And even if it's other business owners, right? Because sometimes people might feel like if they give you some advice and you do really well, oh, well, if I didn't give them that advice, they wouldn't be doing so well. And why am I down here? Like people just get stuck in that space. Like, no, we all want everybody to do good. And just because somebody's journey goes that way doesn't mean yours won't like sprout up at some point. But just as long as you don't start doing the codependent thing that I did for years, where it's like you're helping people so often that you're not helping yourself, and it's a distraction from doing the things that you need to do. So like the procrastination thing, I find a lot of people procrastinate because they're like they say like, oh, I'm a perfectionist, and it's actually like a form of procrastination, because if they don't finish it, they can't get the critical feedback. So people will often like send out tracks and be like, so what do you think of this? It's not finished though. Like, don't be too brutal with me, because I mean, we're human. We're nervous about that stuff. So
Yeah.
we got to find people that we trust, right? Because sometimes, like for a while there, people would just give me like really harsh feedback without even being asked. Not even for like sending out music, because I was a little bit more careful about who I'd send that out to. But like DJ sets, just like really harsh criticism. You're like,
Like what? Like what?
When was the last time you DJ?
Like what?
It's been a while since that, but like in the beginning, I remember hearing horrendous things all the time. You're like, yeah, I'm new. Of course, I'm not that good.
Yeah, maybe it would be different if we recorded mixes or tracks to cassette or DVD or CD or DVD still, and then mailed it to people and then asked them to listen and then write a letter back or phone us. Because it's just the age of the internet troll, right? Like, I think everybody loves to just give a snide comment to anything, even if it's your friend and you're just like, here, check out this track I made. Yeah, it's okay.
Like, I pressed that on vinyl for you.
Yeah.
It took 3 weeks.
Yeah. That doesn't.
Yeah, there's.
That,
Is that?
sorry. Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, like music is kind of, it's devalued, right? So all of this, doing these live streams, everything we're doing, every time we're producing digital content, we're just slaves to the social media platforms, and all of this is just stored on someone's server that will be turned off one day and gone. If we're not making physical music anymore, it's a little bit depressing. I think it would be worth more. It would be more valuable if I still received like test pressings and white labels and stuff. But nope, sad.
Yes.
Maybe I'm a
It's
cynic.
definitely different from the face to face. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. And we can't get that now. So we're all just living in these fake COVID bubbles, I suppose, where everyone's just trying to be cordial and produce a lot of content. I don't know.
And it reminds me so much of like after I had my son, I did not know how to talk to people anymore. It was just like breast milk and like baby poop. Like that just like word vomit out of my mouth. That's all I could talk about. I had to get a book on like how to talk to people again. I totally forgot. And I feel like when people come back to it and they can actually be in person, they're just gonna be like, blah, blah, blah. Hi, what? You okay?
Yeah, that's a thing. People have lost that skill. A lot of people have said that. The same thing you just said. Like they feel like they're losing their ability to talk to people. Fortunately, I talk to a decent amount of people every day. Not that I have world-class social skills, but I don't know. COVID's not affecting me that much. I feel for people. I really am sad for the world. And I'm getting antsy, but there are people far worse than me right now, like losing their minds over this. So that's a dark subject. Maybe we won't talk about COVID. We're not allowed to talk about COVID. So
I don't even know what that is. So.
Oh yeah,
Fine.
good point. We have a question on the subject of advice. Who was this? Axel Bassett? Shercott? I don't know. He says, hello to both of you and sorry for my poor English. What kind of equipment would you suggest for amateurs like me who never make music but want to? So I'll turn this over to you first to answer. Since you set it up with all of this, look out for the bad advice and you gotta, people should give good advice. So this is your chance to give the best advice, to tell a noob what kind of equipment they need for music making.
All right, here we go. Okay, so first things first, if you have access to a computer, what I would recommend doing is actually jumping on that Producer Dojo group that Il Gates has. And you can, I believe it's like a 30-day trial for Ableton that you can grab and then start trying it out yourself. That's like the cheapest version I can think of, other than if you have GarageBand already on your computer. As far as like equipment goes, yeah. So if you don't have a treated room and you just want to do like headphones, oh, I was just looking at a pair of headphones, 770-D7. You could get a pair of headphones if you can't afford like actual monitors. Though whatever you get, you want flat. You don't want like, oh my gosh, I am forgetting all the language. Can you hear me here?
Yeah, you don't want like boosted signals, a lot of bass and a lot of treble.
Something flat so that when you're producing, you hear what it actually sounds like. Because if you get like Dre headphones or something, it's just gonna make a shitty MP3 sound really good, and then you're gonna think your track sounds better than it actually does. So you want something like true. But yeah, you'd have to do your homework. But if you jump in groups like that, they have tons of advice, and you can find a lot of different recommended speakers and treatment options. I think like Focusrite comes with an audio, a production program. I want to say it's Logic. Do you remember what it is? I think it's like a couple $100 for a Focusrite. So you've got your own like little audio interface if you did want to plug in a microphone or a MIDI. Though you can get like really inexpensive MIDIs either on Kijiji, or just go to a music store that will allow you to finance, and you can get something super simple just if you want to use that instead of your keyboard.
I suppose the question before that though would to be like, what kind of music do you want to make? Was it Alexi, did I say?
Yeah.
No, Axel. I mean, that's such a broad question. I mean, if you want to jump into electronic music, yeah, you need a DAW, digital audio workstation. So I would recommend Ableton as well. But, what if you're asking because you want to be an awesome musician? Well, maybe you should actually get a guitar and a small keyboard and just learn the scales and learn how to use your hands. And once you get good at that, I think all of the technical stuff will come after that. But yeah, there's lots of gear. I wanted to avoid making these streams a gear review. I didn't want to get too technical about talking about gear and just technical stuff. This is more about the people behind it. So happy to answer that question though. Obviously, I think that's a rabbit hole we could go down that
absolutely
probably we should not.
No. And that's why I recommended that group, because there's so many different people on there with so many different pieces of advice on like studio setup, because people ask those questions all the time. So then you at least get options, and then you can do your homework from there.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a softball question, just back to the basic stuff. I asked John Norman this last time. One person, who is your number one music idol?
Oh, yeah. So when I was first coming into the industry as a DJ, I found out about B-Trades out of Vancouver, and she was doing drum and bass. And I remember we almost booked her before she got on Digital Soundboy too. We had such a great deal. The guys just didn't want to. I don't know why. And of course, when she did finally come out, costed a pretty penny. But yeah, she was wicked, and she was down to earth. Well, she is. And I reached out to her quite a few times about a variety of situations that happened, from what my dreams and goals were to bullying that I was experiencing. And she was super supportive and really inspiring. I remember when she got on Digital Soundboy, and it was sold all of her stuff and left her home, her dogs, her everything, and moved out to the UK, just started fresh. And just because you're on Digital Soundboy, just because you're making music now and you're doing really, really well in BC, doesn't mean that you're going to be doing really, really well in the UK. So it's starting from the bottom, work your way up. And of course, everyone's like, oh, who is this chick on Digital Soundboy? Like, you know, even though she is phenomenal, and then ended up having her own BBC Radio 1 podcast and runs her own label now, and went from drum and bass into techno. And she produces this, like, I want to say it's like this jungle techno. I think it's called like Lephis Bass. It is super dope and interesting. And you can kind of see her progression of drum and bass and her love for techno kind of coming together. So I so looked up to her. She was doing all of the things that I wanted to do, and she continued to be just a good human being, no matter what her success was. And always like working with her community too, because she also ran this documentary, What's in Your Drugs? I believe that's what it was called, talking about the importance of testing drugs, and making sure that people know, like, okay, what am I taking? What is the effects? And then like also the people that are working at these venues, to be able to know what to do if something went wrong.
Right.
It was like this well-rounded human being doing all these incredible things and giving back to her community. So she's super dope. When I did my rebrand, it was actually when I was listening to a lot of Hannah Wants. And she was playing like this just like super wonky garage house music that some of it really reminded me of drum and bass. So I thought, yes, I can get into this. So definitely Beat Rates, and then Hannah Wants, and it's just... So I don't know if there's any one at this moment, though.
Okay. As a follow-up, as a part B to that question, then,
yes.
Which track would you sit them down to show them of yours?
Oh, of mine?
Yeah.
Oh my God, gross. So I would probably show Hannah Wants the My Love track, and I was showing Beat Rates. I don't know. One of the like wonky textured techno ones. I have many that I have not sent you. Probably one of those that used to be on my SoundCloud until I shut it down. But yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting a little feedback here. I just need to track that down and kill that. I don't know where that's coming from. Sorry. What the heck? So I'm actually playing this track. Why? Sorry for the glitch there. Why this track? Why would you show her this track?
So, because if you ever listen to a Hannah Wants set, it starts off super like vocally and emotional. So I just felt like that track would be something that she would be more into. Yeah.
Out of all the tracks you've made, this one.
For her? For her, yeah.
Yeah?
For Hannah Wants, yeah.
Okay. Just gonna let it play in the background a bit. I think I'm having... Seems like the levels are just jumping around like crazy on me here.
Oh, yeah. You can thank me for that, I'm sure.
How long does it take you to produce a track? Are you subscribing to this new age theory that you must pump it out in 1 hour, or do you take days or weeks to make something?
Okay, so when I was more regularly doing it, I would say it would probably take more like a week. I feel like I need to sleep on things sometimes and not spend too much time on it when I am first working on it, because have you ever been making a track and it's sounding really good, and then 3 hours later you're like, what did I do?
Every time.
It was good. Yeah. So I do have like shorter sessions that I come back to, and I try to map out a plan. what are the things that I want to focus on? Do I want to focus on my like drum loop? Do I want to focus on like my main melody? Like, where am I going with this? And then I just bang it out. It's usually, the reason why it's usually only an hour, maybe two, is because I have a tiny human. And also he's doing percussion in the background. So the sessions aren't always so long.
Right.
And then you come back to it the next day. And sometimes I love it and sometimes I hate it. But that particular track, I was dealing with chronic pain at the time. And it was such a lovely distraction. So it's really interesting how when sometimes you're feeling motivated when you're making music and then you're like, this is garbage. And other times you're like, hey, I don't hate this. And then you put it out and you get the feedback. And maybe like 3 years later, you're like, that was awful. Why did I let anybody listen to that?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I have a guilty, I have this like bad habit, producing something and then putting it on the shelf like wine and just letting it sit. And if it can last 6 months, if I can come back to it 6 months later and listen to it and I like it, then I'm on to something. But I'll have to check in with it another 6 months later. So like everything I've put out has always been at least like a year or 2 years after I made it. I just sit on it. Constantly check in with it. If I don't love it, that's it. No.
I once heard somebody tell me that if you're doing a session and you do not love it, trash it. Like, do not hold on to it just because you spent a couple hours on it. Get rid of it if you're not feeling it. Maybe export like a loop that you're really digging, but trash the rest because it's just taking up space and you're never going to work on it again, or you're going to force yourself and then hate it even more. I heard other people, I've interviewed so many different types of artists, including singers, like producer singers. And one woman told me that when she's producing music and writing lyrics, she thinks about a mood and then she writes off that mood, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, I think I just give myself time limits. You sound like, yeah, the fine wine. That's really interesting. That's cool. That's your thing.
Well, I think it starts because it's, just being self-conscious or something. Like, I've made the mistake a few times, like just sending something out right away after it was made, or just being like, just so excited in the moment, like, oh, this is so awesome. And then you send it out, or just putting it online before you come back to it. Learning to come back to things. Just let it sit. Like, you're excited, great. Just let it sit. Like, if you don't think you can come back to this 6 months from now, then you don't have a good track. Then it's not going to stand the test of time, right? It's contemporary. It's like, oh, this is only popular. This is only going to work this week. If we can get it out there this week, people will get this track this week. 6 months from now, it's garbage. Well, then don't make music like that. No? I don't know. What do I know?
It's a learning process. Like, I mean, if you feel good about it, then yeah, all the power to you. I put out so many things that I listen back to. I'm like, oh, that was embarrassing. And then I'll find old project files on my computer where I'm like, why didn't I come back to this? This is super dope.
Right.
But for me, it's like, it's the mixing and mastering that really kills me, because even if you have a really good idea, like if you don't know how to master it, well, you can try to find somebody that knows how to do it, but maybe there's still some element in there that you need to adjust and they can't do it. Like, you have to do it. Because you, as Almost Famous, you had a partner. Like, was it helpful having that feedback going back and forth when you guys were making music?
It's Get Famous.
Oh my God.
You said Almost Famous.
I'm forgetting all the words.
That's another band in the city, actually. But Aaron and I, when we do Get Famous, that's a great dynamic. It's like, I do all the mastering, right? I do the mixing and mastering. I don't know, because I like it or something, or maybe I'm a control freak and I just don't let Aaron do it. And he's never actually expressed that he wanted to take that on. I think when we started making music too, I had more time. Like I said, I spent so much time making music, so I just had more time, and so we would have our jam sessions, and then I'd be the one to mix it and master it and all of that. But Aaron's also a talented musician, so he, singing and playing, and me just learning to record his instrumentation properly, and engineer it. So learning to be an engineer and and then master it. Yeah, I assume that role, and I don't know. I think I enjoy it. A lot of people send me their mixes to remix, not rewrite remix, but to mix and master. I like it. It takes a long time, but it's a worthwhile skill to learn. Actually, there's an argument to either learning that stuff or not learning that stuff. If you don't learn that stuff, then you can just focus on banging out the tracks. Just keep writing. Just like you said, right? Just keep doing it. Make it better. Improve. I told a story on an episode of this a couple episodes ago. I don't know if you watched that one, but there's this famous story from, I think, MIT or Stanford. There was a pottery class, and the professor divided the pottery class in half and said, this half is going to concentrate on making the best piece of pottery, and this half of the class is going to concentrate on making the most pieces of pottery. By the end of the term, the people making the most pieces also made the best pieces, because the more repetition is king, right? The more you do it, the better you get. The other people working on the best piece failed miserably trying to be perfectionists with every little tweak. Anyways, if you just leave that the mastering or the more technical aspects up to someone else, then you have more time in your life to concentrate on writing music. But if you enjoy playing with 10 kilohertz for 6 hours straight, carving EQs and applying limiting and compression for 20 hours straight, and living off of cheesies and coffee and stuff, then do that. I don't know. It'll be a worthwhile skill later in life, I'm sure. I'm sure I'll thank myself when I'm 75.
Oh yeah, you can make money off mastering tunes. But do you want to?
I don't want to.
No. I think it's an amazing skill to have. I have all this time during the pandemic to work on music production, and I'm just maybe. I was doing it more when I had little time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's weird. Such a weird experience now. I was doing 2 vlogs a week, 2 or 3 vlogs a week, doing 1 interview, 1 Ask Kilma, and 1 helping DJs and doing shows on the weekend and doing music production and raising a tiny human. And I had a part-time job, and I'm doing all of these things. And now I have all this open space. I'm I guess I'll do the dishes. It's not.
It's hard to keep it up, right?
It's different now. It's interesting. But I still love to DJ, and I feel very comfortable and confident in my DJing. Even if it's a completely different setup that I'm jumping on, I'm I guess I'm gonna have to figure out where all the buttons are and how touchy the platter is, and I feel a lot more comfortable and confident in that than I do with music production, for sure. However, now I have fun with music production, as opposed to kind of trying to force myself to learn it before. Now I find joy in it.
What is the worst music genre in the world?
I'm sure it exists, and I just don't know about it yet.
That's such a revealing answer. I think you have this insane passion for music, a love and respect for all music. I'm just getting this vibe.
I don't love all the music I hear, that's for sure. But yeah.
I could easily shit on genres.
Yeah.
I'm full of cynicism.
Okay, share with us. Or have you already shared all the genres you hate already?
I shouldn't. This would be a very different stream if I were to just let her rip all the time. Maybe we'll do one where it's just me asking myself questions.
I like it.
And I'll keep drinking.
It's like Palliser. He asks himself questions. Have you ever heard him?
Yeah. I hate people that do that set up their own questions. Do I wish that I would have done it differently? Well, maybe. Yeah. No, nobody asked you that.
Oh. Have you had? Do you work in customer service? Like, do you have to work with the public?
Well, I run my own business, so yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
why?
you ever come? Oh, I was just gonna say, like, do you ever come across humans like that?
Oh, yeah.
That ask questions.
Oh, all kinds of people. Yeah, it's tough, right? You have to be accepting of all. Can't walk around with a shitty attitude like I have. No, I'm joking. So yeah, I have a business that I run, and if you were to discuss that with me, you'd see a very different John, I think. But with music, I have my convictions. I have my thoughts and my feelings, and I'm not afraid to voice my opinions a little bit more, get a little bit more jagged. I guess I am afraid. I haven't done it much. I'm sitting here asking you to tell me what you think the worst genre is, and then I didn't do it, so I don't know what the hell.
I have more opinions about like how people run their businesses. I like the music stuff. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, oh, you don't like it? Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't like country really, except for like a few.
Everyone says that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I grew up around, like, my dad was a race car driver, and he loved Dale Earnhardt, and he like played country music, and so like some of the stuff you like, and then you're like, Mom, what are they talking about? And they're like, oh, she can't save him. He drinks too much. Oh, like Daddy? Just like lots of life lessons in his country music. Maybe that's why I don't like it. But.
Okay. Wait, race car driver. Back up. That was a lot of info. This is stuff I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in the country? Did you grow up in the city?
I grew up in St. Norbert, which apparently was not considered Winnipeg.
Right.
So we were near what was it called? Victory Lane Speedway.
Right. Yeah, that's
now it's like
way.
Red River Co-op, but it was Victory Lane Speedway, and we lived right on Villeneuve. So like our backyard was the train, and the other side was like the perimeter or Pembina Highway, and so we would see all the cars going by during the races, and we'd all be like, "Ooh," excited, and then we go to the races sometimes. But yeah, he was a race car driver, and then my brother got into it, and my mom remarried a way better dude, and he also drove the super trucks, and now he has been driving at like the drag strip, his Barracuda, so sometimes you go out there to see that. But yeah, it's kind of hilarious because it's just, when you think of race cars, what do you think of? What kind of music? What kind of like people?
My mom,
not ravers.
No, my mom was my mom was a very smart lady. She passed away years ago, but she was a network administrator. But as a teen, or in her early 20s, I think, what year was it? She won the 1972 Can-Am Nationals with her. She was a drag racer with her 70.5 Cuda. She had a Cuda. So she raced horses as a teenager, and then she was a drag racer, and she won some kind of she's very cool. Lady. I don't know where it was. No, I think the Can-Am Nationals are a big deal. I don't know much about them. I like cars and I like computers. I inherited a lot of that from her. But yeah, I don't know. That's I don't know. Do you like cars? Did that carry with you, or are you kind of like, fuck that?
I like dirt bikes.
Yeah.
I like trucks. We own a truck. We've
Okay.
owned trucks for quite a few years now, because my husband's in carpentry, and
Gotta have a
so
truck, yeah.
when I get in a car, I'm like, holy shit, this is super low to the ground. I can't see anything. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die. But the truck is like, I can see everything, and I actually have more space than I thought I did. So yes, trucks.
Well, I meant, I
Jeeps.
guess, when I meant cars, I meant like, you know,
Oh, like
car culture,
racing?
vehicles, like all of it. Like, are you a, you know, car? What do you say, vehicle?
No.
A vehicle person?
But
No one says that.
I did used to hang out with my friends. I would like do the racing night.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but
Sunday night
I kind of
cruising.
got over that and got into turntables and vinyl,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's
just-
where my money went instead of a car.
I feel like you touched on something. Not that I'm looking to exploit everyone's personal story and background, but
Yeah, it might have been something I've already like shared with humans before. So
but you-
go on.
I mean, you touched on your dad there. Not that it. Not that I don't know. I mean, I don't want to open a can of worms, but I don't know this
No, it's
about
fine.
you.
Let's
and
do
this
this.
stream is about getting to know fellow musicians. So if you'd be so inclined, is that something you want to talk about? Is
Yeah,
it,
for sure.
Is it part of
So yeah,
who you are?
I can talk about him. So he is a horrible human being. Like when I say horrible, I mean like truly awful. And he was barely around, and he spent pretty much all of our money on race cars and booze and strip clubs. And so my mom was so lovely. She never said negative things about him, because she did not want to have an influence on what our opinions and thoughts were about him. But I knew he was a horrible human being. I mean, this guy used to drive drunk with us in the car, like us kids in the car from the country. It was horrifying. And even though we didn't really understand what was going on, we knew it wasn't good. And this is where a lot of my anxiety and panic attacks started, when I was quite young. So, thankfully, mental health and therapy was normalized very young in my life. So, when people are talking about some of the stuff that they're dealing with in the anxiety and the panic attacks and all this jazz, I'm like, yeah, therapist, yeah, workshop, yeah, read this book, yeah, journal, yeah, meditate. Like, I feel them. I can totally relate and understand. Thankfully, I am, because of all of that, I am in a really good space in my life, because I can, I feel healed, and also I am very empathetic towards people that may be experiencing that. And also, when I see insecurities pop up in people, it's so often has something to do with what happened in childhood. We tend to repeat those patterns a lot. So when people are feeling really insecure, or when people are trying to people please, or when people think there's only one way to do something, it's often because when they were growing up, it was something that was taught to them, or they knew they couldn't get love unless they did this thing. So, you know, even though I don't want anybody to like have to experience any of that crap, a lot of human beings that I've met that are just really incredible did experience some sort of garbage when they were growing up. And because of the toxic behavior and traits of my dad, when I meet people in the industry that showcase those things, I don't take it personally. It's a lot easier for me to just be like, I'm not going to work with that person, and let it go, because I see that this could go in a really dark way. And sometimes I miss the red flags, and then I'm like, oh, I wonder why I let them do that. And it's another learning experience. But yeah, that's my.
So you sort of bring
Yeah.
it. You bring it to your music career as a shield, as a tool. You carry this. Sounds to me like you carry this experience with you, and
I
these
never thought of
lessons
it
learned.
as a shield. That's really interesting.
Maybe a weapon. Maybe that's the wrong word. Maybe it sounds like, you know, you're getting utility from your experience. You're making the best of it. You know, however you want to frame that.
whatever cheesy line you want to throw in there. I am utilizing like a shitty situation, and that I'm like, okay, what was the lesson here? What can I learn from this? How can I make sure I don't let this happen to my kid? Like, how can I make sure that I don't normalize something really fucked up? Because a lot of people will find themselves in friendships and relationships that are often like their parents. They'll often end up being like one or the other. And so I definitely had a lot of codependent traits like my mom. So like helping people, not helping myself, then feeling frustrated. Oh, who am I frustrated with? Really, it's me. Because instead of helping myself before I helped other people, I helped them. And now I'm pissed off that I'm exhausted or burned out or whatever. So it's just like these constant, when I'm noticing stress, when I'm noticing anxiety, when I'm noticing like, oh, this doesn't feel right in my body, I can take a step back and be like, hey, why is this uncomfortable? Why is this familiar? And how can I change that? So I utilize it a lot, not just in music, but in my relationship with my husband or in friendships, because we can often take these toxic childhood experiences and then throw them into these other relationships subconsciously. And then like, why am I mad at them for something that is not a big deal? Oh yeah, because it was triggering. Okay, why was it triggering? Okay, how can I deal with this? Seems like kind of a simplistic way of doing it without actually giving an example. But yeah, I've utilized it not just in the music sense, but a lot of places in my life. And it's been really helpful.
We're all carrying something like that, right? If you're not making good use of your bad past situations, then you're not being a human. You're not doing it right. You're not humaning correctly.
It makes it so much easier to understand other people and their reactions and how it really isn't about you. It rarely is about you. And like, even when people say things like, you made me feel this way, it's like, in my head, I'm like, well, I didn't make you feel that way. I won't say that to people mostly, but you're like, something is going on that it would not have bugged someone if they weren't already going through something. So then I can at least like have that empathy of like, they're obviously having a difficult time, and I can relate to that because like someone I really, really cared about could say or do something, and it was like, they're not a malicious person. They're not trying to do something shitty to me. This isn't about me. They're just struggling right now, or they're doing their best. Everybody's doing their fucking best, no matter even if it just sounds so ridiculous. It's like they're doing the best they can in that particular moment in their life. So just try to meet them where they're at. And I think that has been something that has made me a lot less bitter in this industry than I once was.
It's good advice, I suppose. So let me just pry a little deeper here. If I were to just ask you, what are your music demons? What are the demons?
Can you give me an example of what that might look like? Maybe that will give me some ideas of what my music demons might be. Like music demons in regards to like getting, like putting myself out there as an artist or as a DJ or...
So I could ask this two ways. I could say just what are your general demons? I do want to keep it in the realm of music so that other musicians can maybe find some use with this. Another way to ask this question is within the context of music, within the context of your career in music, what's wrong with you?
Okay, let me just pick one thing. Hold on, let's find out.
What do you wish you could vanquish?
Right. So I'm going to say it's always going to be the self-talk. It's whatever it is I'm telling myself in my head. Whether it's like justifying like, oh, I'm not going to work on this project today because blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay, so one thing that I think about is that sometimes when I'm working really, really hard, I don't want to stop. I don't want to slow down because I feel like if I slow down, I will lose momentum. And if I lose momentum, I might not start up again. And this has kind of been a pattern. It's like go, 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 go. But the problem is if I don't stop, if I don't slow down, if I don't take care of myself, or I say yes to too many things, that I'm not really happy. So, yeah, my demon would be me, because it's going to be like the self-talk. It's going to be like my actions. It's going to be something that I'm doing to myself. It wouldn't like be anything.
It's always
on the
ourselves.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
It's gonna,
The demons
yeah.
are within, right? And it's
Yeah. So sometimes I have to be like, girl, what? No. And I do a brain dump. Have you ever heard of this?
a brain dump.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in a few different contexts. What do you mean by it?
Okay, so a brain dump for me, whether I'm like on the verge of a burnout because I want to do a million things or I don't know where to start, a brain dump for me is just journaling like what is
journaling
on my mind that I want to do. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm feeling anxiety about this, I'm scared about that, I'm excited about this. It's just like getting it all on paper.
Yeah.
Just putting it somewhere, just like space and time, put it somewhere. Because I feel like when it's in your head, it's just wandering around. But once you like physically put it on paper with a pen,
yeah,
it's like, there you go.
It takes up too much RAM in the brain. My friend had a good analogy. He said this one day, and we, drunkenly were like, "That's such a good analogy. Cheers, cling." It just, you only have so much RAM in the brain, and it gets full, and there's just so much you want to do, and so many things you've got to get done. And journaling, I don't do it, but I've tried it just to see, like, all right, what is all this fuss about? Let me see. Oh, it actually works. That empties the RAM and it stores it. It's like moving it into a hard drive, and then your RAM is free. It's nice, and you can look at it.
Or you forget about it.
Yeah.
Then you just stop worrying about it. Because you're like, where am I going to put this? Where am I going to put this? And you put it somewhere, and you're like, you forget about it. And you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I was worrying about that shit. I don't care anymore.
Yep.
Or I forgot I had that file I didn't really like that much. Yeah.
Delete.
I like that. Yeah, my husband talks about that a lot. He's like, I only have so much space in my brain. I'm going to focus on these things, and everything else will have to wait.
It's true. Okay. Only so many things can occupy that little space. So this is probably, I had this on my list of questions. I just kind of want to ask everybody this so that, everyone's got, so that there's a template. Everyone's got an answer to some of the same questions. And this is a topic that you have spent a lot of time on, right? So I don't know if this is like a nut I'm going to open and it's going to just never end, but advice for musicians, there's two components. What should people do more of to keep themselves producing? Not for new musicians, new producers, but to stay producing, to stay DJing, or just stay active in the scene. What should they keep doing, and what should they stop doing?
Oh, I hate the should. I like the could. But if I were to should, I would say set goals. Set goals, visualize them, think about them. Think about what that would look like, think about what it would feel like, smell like, whatever. Like really like get clear about what your goals are. And then do every single day. Even if it's just a little bit every day, it adds up. With goals, I find you can break them down, and they might change. But if you know what you are aiming for, it's like, hey, we're going on a trip. Where are you going? I don't know. Like, it would be helpful if you knew where your trip was so that you can kind of like put that map out. So yeah, set goals and do a little bit every day. What wouldn't I do? I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend being around, I wouldn't recommend sharing your dreams with people that don't believe that you can accomplish it. Because the last thing you need are people talking in your ear, telling you that you can't accomplish something. Maybe you find that motivation, and that's awesome too. And also, it would be super helpful to be around people that are cheering you on and maybe have gone farther than you, so that you can maybe take some of their advice that you think works for you. But another like thing I would not recommend doing is taking every piece of advice as like the way to do it, because I don't think there is one way to do it. I think even a way that you're doing it today might not work 5 years from now, because I definitely do not do the same things that I used to do when I first got into the industry. So if you're open-minded and willing to learn and do the work every day, even if it's a little bit, you will get towards that goal 100%.
Solid advice. Solid advice. Yep. I think maybe you helped me a little bit. Maybe I'll release a track next week, and it'll be thanks to you.
No, it'll be thanks to you.
Yeah.
You do the work.
Yeah, gotta do the work.
That's on you.
Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. I think this has been a pretty solid chat. I want to thank you for coming on. Why don't you take this opportunity to tell everybody where they should go and follow you, etc.
Yeah. So if you want to follow me, most of my social media platforms are at Kilma Music. You could also look for the hashtag Don't Kilma Vibe. And yeah, me and Mark Grimace do a double feature on Fridays from 6 until 9. Mark plays all of his old school stuff for a couple of hours, and then I play my weird and wonky techie techno stuff.
Where's that?
For
Twitch?
an hour. Yeah, on Twitch. We host each other, so it pops up in both of our feeds.
I got to get a way to like launch the. I got to put the lower thirds on here so that people can read it. I apologize, but you know what? I'll if you want to send me those links, then I will add them to the descriptions of the streams, and people can click on that.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm usually the one interviewing people, so this is fun to be on the other side.
Well,
and you're an awesome interviewer. You have great questions, and you keep the conversation flowing.
Thanks. I try, you know?
You do awesome.
This conversation, like all conversations on this stream, have been brought to you by Bud Light. So, yeah.
I gotta get you some microbrews.
It's a thing. Yeah, you know what? I just like the flavorless, like watered down stuff. I can't handle the hoppy stuff, or yeah. My tummy, I have a sensitive tummy. Anyways, we'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on. We'll do this again sometime.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.